Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History, October 20. We're going to go all the way back to the year 480 when the Greeks defeated the Persians in a naval battle at Salamis. In 1632, English astronomer and architect Christopher Wren was born on this date in 1632, depending on which calendar you're considering. I mention this because there were a couple of calendar changes in Great Britain and its colonies, which can complicate matters of dates. One was a change of the beginning of the year from March 25th to January 1, and the other one was to switch from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. So Mr. Wren's birth date is given in the old style date, which lists it on October 20th. Quite a remarkable man. I've linked information about him in the show notes. He lived to the age of 90. In 1803, the United States Senate ratified the Louisiana Purchase, approving a treaty with France to provide for the purchase of the territory of Louisiana, which doubled the size of the United States at the time. In 1859, American philosopher, psychologist, and educational reformer John Dewey was born in Burlington, Vermont. Now, I have not studied Mr. Dewey in depth, and even though Wikipedia uses words like liberal and progressive to describe his approach to education, I cannot help but think he surely must be rolling over in his grave at the state of what passes for education in most of America today. If you know different, or if you have reason to think this was exactly what he was aiming for, please feel free to enlighten me in the comments section below. Let me know. He died in 1952 at the age of 92. 1882. Hungarian-born film actor Bela Lugosi, famous for his portrayal of Count Dracula, was born on October 20th of 1882. He also played in Plan 9 from Outer Space. He died in 1956 at the age of 80. 1924, baseball's first Colored World Series was held in Kansas City, Missouri. That's how they said things back then. Listen, if you're ever up that way, you ought to check out the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. I've been there, and I actually got to meet and have lunch with Buck O'Neill. I think this was back in about 2000. I was going to say ought not, but there will be people who don't know what that means. Anyway, yep, the Negro Leagues Museum, Kansas City, Missouri. Check it out if you're up that way. I'll put a link in the show notes. 1931, baseball great Mickey Mantle was born. He played his entire baseball career with the New York Yankees. His dad loved baseball and his granddad before that. In fact, his dad named him in honor of Mickey Cochran, a Hall of Fame catcher. Later in life, Mickey said he sure was glad that his dad didn't know what Mickey Cochran's real name was because he would not have enjoyed being named Gordon. No offense to any Gordons in my audience. Mickey was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974 and died in 1995 at the age of 63. 1935, Mao's Long March concludes. Just over a year after the start of the Long March, Mao Zedong arrives in Shanxi province in northwest China with 4,000 survivors and sets up his Chinese Communist headquarters. 1944, General MacArthur returns to the Philippines. 1947, Congress investigates communists in Hollywood. In 1948, American singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, record producer, and actor Tom Petty was born on October 20, 1948. He was the lead singer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and a founder of the Traveling Wilburys and Mudcrutch bands, and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2002. A remarkable and prolific artist, and we were certainly heartbroken when we heard of his death in 2017. He was 66. 1955, J.R.R. Tolkien publishes The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. In 1958, Danish-American actor, author, musician, photographer, poet, and painter Viggo Mortensen was born. 1962, Kennedy secretly plans the blockade of Cuba. On October 20th, 1962, the White House press corps is told that President John Kennedy had a cold. In fact, he was holding secret meetings with advisors on the eve of ordering a blockade of Cuba. 1968, Dick Fosbury's Olympic high jump record. On October 20, 1968, 21-year-old Oregonian Dick Fosbury won the gold and set an Olympic record when he high jumped 7 feet 4 1/4 inches at the Mexico City Games. 1973, the iconic Sydney Opera House opened its doors on this day in 1973. Declared as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, it was designed by Danish architect Jorn Oberg Utzon. Construction of the Performing Arts Center began in March of 1959 and cost over $100 million to build. That's 14 years it took to build. Holy cow. Well, happy birthday, Sydney Opera House. 1973, the Solicitor General Robert Bork dismissed Watergate Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox. Attorney General Richardson and Deputy Attorney General Rickleshouse resigned in protest. 1977, 3 members of the Southern rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd died in a Mississippi plane crash. 1979, the John F. Kennedy Library was opened in Boston, Massachusetts. On October 20th, 1994, Burt Lancaster, a former circus performer who rose to fame as a Hollywood leading man with some 70 movies to his credit and a career that spanned over 4 decades, died at the age of 80 in Century City, California. 2009, the United States observes the National Day on Writing, sponsored by the National Council of Teachers of English. And finally, October 20th is World Osteoporosis Day. Yes, really, World Osteoporosis Day. This is observed annually on October 20th and launches a year-long campaign dedicated to raising global awareness of the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of osteoporosis and metabolic bone disease. So take care of your bones, y'all. Well, thanks for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share if you found this video interesting or informative. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. On October, okay, with the notifications. Sure would be nice if I could ever read one of these in its entirety without having to start anything over. That would be awesome. Was that 1927? Oh boy, we got our years mixed up. I might have to take another look at that, but I'm going to have to look at that. So, plumbing happens. This is why I don't do live shows.